Welcome back to the So Cute Runner series, this time for August. Customers are loving this series. We're getting a lot of positive feedback. They love that this can easily be done in a day and that there's a supporting video every time. People are also enjoying the convenience of a kit because you're not only getting all the fabrics you see, we so carefully choose those fabrics. I hope you know that's the bulk of my day sometimes is trying to find the perfect fabrics, right, that put a smile on your face. And also they love the convenience of the pre-fused and laser cut applique. And this time we even have a little bit of hand embroidery. So we've even put the embroidery floss inside there. And remember that when you get your kit, you're also getting your backing fabric, your binding fabric, and a full color tested pattern. So, and I'm right here to sew along with you every month, which is one of the things I love to do. So let's just jump into this. This is a very simple block to make. You can see we're just doing 1 row, 2 rows, 3 rows, 4 rows, and sewing them together. And then we're sewing a side border, top and bottom border, and we make 2 of those, right? And then there's a cute little applique, again, already cut out for you. So let's just dive in here. So simple. So much is just what's called a stitch and flip corner. You've heard me talk about that. This is just a demonstration how stitch and flip works. We have a rectangle. We usually have a smaller square. We've drawn a line from corner to corner. Place that in either this corner or the opposite. Sew directly on that line, trim the excess away and press to the outside. That is the easiest way to do a stitch and flip technique, and there's a lot of it, not just in this block, but throughout this whole series. So you're going to see that example again. So we're going to start at the top of our beehive and work our way down. We love to label our fabrics. It helps us stay organized. So you can see here in our pattern we said B, and we have A are our little squares. So this is exactly what we do. This isn't just for video prep. We do this upstairs to keep ourselves organized. We have our fabric, our piece B, and just like we're showing here, we have our fabric where we grab any straight edge. This is where I like to use my pen. This disappears with ink. We all know that now. Or with disappears with heat. We all know that now. We place one in one corner, and boy, it's so tiny there's almost no room for a pin, right? You can maybe put a little pin or just hold that in position, sew corner to corner. Do the same here, and just like we demonstrated and what I stated here in the previous version, you're cutting the excess and pressing that away. And that is, we did our magic sewing, right? And if you want to be on the safe side and go ahead and even press to the corners first before you trim, that's kind of my preferred technique. That way I can say, okay, did anything get wonky or does that look good? That looks really good, to be honest with you. It looks really fantastic. Then I come back, grab for pretty much any straight edge I can find, and I've got my creative grid with my dashed line, and I place that right on my stitch line. That gives me a 1/4 inch away from that when I trim. That's just my rhythm. And this is true really of all creative grid tools, as they have that dash line, and I love that. I just set that right on my stitching and I know I'm in the perfect spot. And there you go. You already have that first portion, and now all we have to do here is add piece C to both ends, placing that right side together, 1/4 inch, 1/4 inch. And remember that our pattern is going to give you pressing instructions with arrows. So here, notice how we pressed away. Now when we add letter C, that's also pressing away, and we can see that on the back of our block here. And we've just done that ahead of time. So that's the very quickly the upper portion. You can see that cutting your fabrics to the exact measurement is going to be very important for you. Add plenty of sizing. Get a nice fresh blade in that rotary cutter. If it's been a while since you've changed the blade, hey, if we're doing patchwork, that's just part of the drill, right? Get a nice blade in there and get some clean cuts. So you already have the upper portion of your beehive. Guess what? The next section comes, and just like you would expect, right? We have everything labeled and ready to go. We have this in the corner. You already know what's going to be happening here. We're sewing on the line. Press to the outside. Do we like that? Are we happy? Yep. trim, trim, and then we add E to the ends, again, right side together until it looks like this here, right? You can see how that all went together so quickly. Look how this is all just building very, very quickly. And then you can see here, this is easy peasy, right? That is just right in the corners there. I'll just show you what that's going to look like. No big mystery there. So much sew and flip technique. Just need to draw that line corner to corner. Same on this one. Set that in that corner. Sew and press away. We have our third part of our beehive. Don't we wish real sewing was actually this fast? But then again, why are we hurrying, right? This is our favorite hobby. This is what we love to do. For our bottom row here, hey, we got to have a door to get into this beehive, right? So we just have our two sections on either side of our door, sewing that together. Our instructions are guiding us into pressing toward letter H right here. And now we have our bottom section put together. So as you can see, now you're just simply sewing these two sections together, these two sections together, and sewing all this together. And this is the pressing instructions here, or the pressing direction that we chose. Let me just show you from this direction. And that is indicated right here, right? It's all pressing kind of up. And that's how we get the main part of our beehive together. You already know once we're at that stage where we have this sewn together, if we did a good job of keeping our 1/4 inch seam allowance, then we're hoping that those outer border strips work. Hey, if they're a little bit shorter or a little bit longer, join the club. That's me almost every single time. If we know that you can prove that you've cut this to the exact right measurement, then make this fit it. Make that fit it. So that's why I pin here and I pin in the corner and make everything else fit. You can think about this. Look how I can kind of stretch that just a little bit to make that fit. So whenever I have a misalignment, even if it's just a little, I'm like, okay, which one is accurate? That's what we're going towards. So I wanted to mention that. And again, I don't know if any of my blocks have ever been dead on. Every now and again I get lucky, but most of the time I'm making it fit, right? Okay, and here and top and bottom, easy peasy. And we know we're going to be making 2 of those blocks. And we'll be talking about the applique for that in just a minute. Right? We're not usually adding an applique element to our patchwork. For our previous ones, we've been just doing the applique here in the middle. So let me just move that off to the side. We're just going to move right in to the applique right now. We'll have our block kind of waiting for us to add our cute little flower. We'll get all this out of the way. And I love the convenience of brief used and laser cut applique. I've done a lot of tracing in my years, and I bet you have too. Just a reminder, right? We all know how to get the heat and bond. We all know how to trace and cut, but why? We want to skip that part. We want to get to the fun. So we've pre-assembled some of these units, but I wanted to just give you a reminder here. And look at the glitter fabric we use for the bees' wings. By the way, the reason we chose kind of a light aqua for the wings is when we chose a white glitter, it kind of disappeared against the background. So this helps the wings to stand out just a little bit more. But as a reminder, whenever we're going to be using laser shapes that are overlapping, this is where I like to grab for my light pad. I'm going to grab for my light or my Appliqué mat. This is where the magic's going to happen. So we have our light source, and then we actually have our applique diagram. And I'll need to actually move this off of my pressing mat because remember, we can't iron on the light pad. It is not thermally capable of handling that heat. That's not glass, so it will ruin that. Let me just put these off to the side so I have a chance. For now, I'm going to put my background off to the side. We don't need that yet. Let's just put this here for now. Make a little bit of space here. I'm going to turn the light box or the light pad on. Okay, so this sequencing, just remember that the number 1 means that piece goes down first, followed by 2, 3, and 4. It's just helping us understand that juxtaposition. So the sequencing is light source, diagram. Take a picture if you need to. This is a very simple sequence, but maybe there was a more complex sequence of maybe 10 fabrics or 12 fabrics. It's okay to take a picture because we all know that when we put the Appliqué mat down, which is needed, it sometimes blocks our view of seeing those numbers clearly. So now that we have that down, we know that our wings are going to go down first and our body is next for our bee. And I love too that the Appliqué mat is tacky. See this? Nothing's falling off that. That is why the Appliqué mat is my go-to far more than any kind of a sheet or something that's kind of sheer, and it's very slippery because there's just no grip. This actually grips this, and it's like another pair of hands, which I will take every single time. Now, I'm going to try to do these with just my fingers. My preferred technique is the Gypsy Quilter tweezers. Looks like I forgot to add those to the set. We'll show you what those look like. They are absolutely fantastic. Often, the Gypsy Quilter just can't keep these in stock. Everyone's kind of discovered them and just how incredible they are, not just for applique, but anytime, like picking up beads, anything where you just need another pair of hands. They're fantastic. Okay, put that right here into position, and I'll just use my little seam ripper as my extra pair of hands today. All right. Now, once I have that, I'm bringing that over to my pressing mat. I just let go of the iron to resist the temptation of moving like this. Too many years of ironing shirts, too many years of that. Now I just let that sit there for about 6-7 seconds. All of the glue, the heat and bond light on the back of those shapes has been activated. Now as the cooling process begins, it merges as one. So those shapes that went from 4 will now become 1. While that's cooling, no problem. Simply move on to another part, do another bee, right? By the time you get all that done, you're ready to pick that first bee off, but please don't remove that until everything has cooled down. That's why you see me sometimes fanning that. Okay, the flower, right? Same concept here. We'll just put the flower together real quick. Same idea. We have our leaves and our center. That sequence is pretty obvious, isn't it? We already know that we're going to be putting our flower down and our center will be last. Love it. Just like that. No tracing, no cutting, maximum fun. I love that. Once again, 6-7 seconds. Okay, just a reminder that'll be on a medium heat. I have made that mistake of keeping my heat all the way up to that hottest linen setting, and it's just, you can kind of almost scorch fusible webbing. I don't know if there's any brand of fusible webbing that can take maximum heat. So that's just part of the checklist of, oh, it's time for fusible applique. Let's bring that heat back to medium. Okay, while that one's cooling, let's just take that bee off and look how now those 4 shapes just quickly merged as one. So while that is cooling down, and we'll be adding that to our block in the meantime, and you've seen me do this many times, let's put that over here. Remember that we use the Appliqué mat whenever there's layers that are overlapping each other. Once things are merged together, I can now go straight to here, because I'm now ironing to my background. I'm not ironing to the paper, which there's going to be a problem, right? We can't be ironing to the paper, but we can to the background. So that is why right now I don't have the Appliqué mat. I've already merged all my bees ahead of time. Just a reminder to remove fusible webbing. Don't baby that. Go ahead and just give a nice pinch, and hopefully that will release. There you go. It almost feels like you're being kind of mean to the fabric. Don't worry, you're not going to hurt the fabric, but it will help you with a good firm crease release the fusible webbing off the back. You don't want to dig at that with tweezers or anything like that. Now, how cute is this? So I'm going to place these in position first. And then we'll go back and we'll draw our antenna on. And I'm going to show you, this is cooled down, I'm going to show you how to do a backstitch. You can always, if you don't like backstitching at all, I'm going to give you an option here in just a minute here what that could look like. If you don't like doing hand embroidery. Now once again, I'm just putting the iron down, letting go, about 6-7 seconds. Need to get my borders on too, or my scallop rather. We get that fine-tuned. That is adorable. Okay. If you're like, I really just don't want to do hand embroidery, that's okay. It's your project. I will be teaching you how to do that. So if you'd like to learn how, or maybe it's been a while, I'll take you there. So easy. It's going to be a backstitch. If you're going to be doing the hand embroidery, this is the pen that releases with heat. I simply draw out where I'm going to go. Let's say you're like, I really just don't want to do that. I would like to just get this over with and have my project done. You would now use a micron pen. And I'll demonstrate this. I don't trace on with a micron pen usually and then do the hand embroidery. Why? Because if I'm off, this is permanent. I have to now cover my tracks, my error wherever I was, with hand embroidery. But let me show you, if you just did not want to do that hand embroidery whatsoever, maybe you recently had surgery, right? You're like, no, this is just not what I can do right now. That's fine. Look how cute this is. That's still cute. So give yourself some grace if either you can't or don't want to, whatever that is. But that would be a different pen. Use the micron, because here with heat, watch here while I just remove that. It's gone, right? Here, nothing is leaving. That's permanent. All right. Okay, so getting back to this, I'm just going to put our flower on real quick. We've got our 2 flowers. This is kind of just eyeballing it. I'm just kind of looking at my picture going, yep, that's my block, and I kind of like my flower about right. I like my flower about right. I like my flower about right there. Okay, I'm going to iron that down. Now we like to, before I get to my hand embroidery, we like to get both ends done, sew the top together, add the borders, add our fusible fleece and or batting, whatever you're going to be using in the middle of this, and your backing, and then we come back and do our quilting here. Both our machine applique and kind of our top quilting. Maybe you're working on something that's lighter weight, maybe a feather weight, and you're concerned about going through that bulk. It's okay to stitch around your shapes right now. It's okay to do that. But I think even a featherweight could easily handle this. But I just wanted to mention, this is our technique. And as you can see, we'll get in close. This is what makes it look so embossed. We're not stitching in the ditch here. Our thread is on top so we can see our beautiful thread. All right, I'm gonna clean up just a little bit, and then I'm grabbing for the black embroidery floss. I have 2 strands. I'm using a Richard Hemming size 4 needle, which is perfect for hand embroidery. If you have any problem threading a needle, grab the Clover needle threader or some other needle threader, and I'll be back and we'll touch on how to do a back stitch to finish up our project. So we're going to go ahead and stitch here. I would recommend you start here, stitch here, Then we kind of scoop behind the bumblebee's head and come out here. I would prefer you do that versus starting here and coming out here, because you definitely don't want to run black embroidery floss behind here. There's a good chance, especially when we add our batting or fusible fleece, that you would see that. So you always want to think about your approach. I have the 2 strands, I've knotted the end, so we'll come up here, and the goal will be to simply take some nice shorter stitches, and we're just going to be stitching directly on that line. So they're nice short stitches, because we have to use straight stitches to create the illusion of a curve. So I continue to split the needle, and then I'm coming back toward myself here. And I've always thought to myself, well, that kind of makes sense they call it a backstitch, because I go down and I come back to myself. The temptation to take too long of a jump, and that's what causes the line to be kind of jerky, kind of not nice and smooth. So it's not a lot of hand embroidery. Take the time, think of all the patchwork you've just done. You want the hand embroidery to look really nice too. So don't jump too far there. Take nice short little jogs, especially as you're going around curves, right? That's when you'll really notice if someone's taken too long of a jump. Okay, now watch how I'm going to kind of dive behind here. I'm actually glad that I haven't stitched down the head yet. I can kind of dive behind here. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cross behind. I can kind of hold this up to the light and see. I'm kind of behind the head here. And I'm going very shallow, because I'm now going to scoop underneath here. Now I come up the other side. That's how we avoid having a black embroidery floss coming right across here. You don't want to do that. I've definitely done that myself and just regretted it so much later on, thinking I wasn't going to see it, and I did. I was very disappointed. And then we just keep going on, right? Nice short stitches. When you get ready to tie off, let me just show you that part real quick. I just make sure I'm always tying off underneath where I've been. We're not going to tie off kind of just in the middle of nothing. We're going to fish this back through where we've been. Now don't reef on that too hard to create a pucker. I create a loop, I go underneath, I create a loop, and I go underneath. And obviously I would have come all the way out here and just fish that back down, and I would tie off behind that head and cut this. You need to cut this so that this is independent of this one and this one and this one. And that's how we do a backstitch. So as you can see, the beehive block is easier than it looks. And of course, it's adorable with the applique edition of not just the flowers, but the bees with their magical sparkly wings. So as I said, we really put our whole hearts into just choosing fabrics that just add a lot of charm, make sewing fun, nice variety of fabrics, and of course, always top quality fabrics. So head to the Shabby website right now to pick up your kit. Be sure to pick up the coordinating thread set and any notions you might need.